Hello and welcome to another episode of Wife's a Bitch podcast. I'm Victoria Arnstein, and this is my co-star today, Connor Mittelstadt.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I hardly know you, which is also a great way to get to know you
Yeah.
on this podcast. It's going to be a very organic conversation.
Yeah.
Just to give you an idea out there, I have my t-shirts and merch for sale on my website, wifesabitch.com. This is Housewives Matter. Take it how you will. I also have a book that I wrote. This is just a sticker. It's called Impress Yourself. I wrote it during the pandemic. It was about my relationship. I really wrote it for my kids, but then I ended up having an epiphany like, why don't I just give it to somebody who might need this one day? So
That's
that's
cool.
where we're at with that. But anyway, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. This is such a cool place.
Thank you.
Walking
Thanks for
in
being here.
was cool. It was like a calming version of The Shining. That was cool. The rug was
I don't know
really
what that
it
means.
had like the same
Oh,
designs.
really?
Yeah, it was
Oh,
like green and
you pay
blue.
attention to detail, I could tell.
I mean sometimes. But this is so much nicer
Thank
than where
you.
I live. I live so close to
Okay,
here.
it's okay. Listen, I didn't always live here and I didn't always have this. So everything, there's hope.
Yeah. Do you know that there's a parade outside?
Yes. And you can't hear it because
I
it's
yeah,
double pane glass.
that's fantastic.
Yeah, so it's good stuff. But how did I meet you?
Um, we met at the Comedy Cellar where I work. I'm a manager at the Comedy Cellar.
Right.
Um,
You're new there,
I
right?
am new. I started working at the end of July. I went from Union Hall and the Bell House to like a little bit of a break, and then I went to the Cellar. So
It
went to
takes a
comedy.
special person to be a manager, first of all, and an even more special person to be able to handle something as complex and difficult as the seller. And I know a couple of managers there, and I'm absolutely perplexed in how you do it, the hours and the
Yeah,
know-how and the not just discipline, but the diplomacy
yeah,
that
I'm
you
learning
have to
that.
have. And I can see that you have that. I can see it.
I try my best. There's a lot of different personalities, and I mean, to me, the best club in the world. It's the best club
It's
in
Mount Everest of all
it's
comedy clubs,
yeah,
in my opinion.
it's the top comedy club in New York,
Yes.
which means it's the best comedy club
In
in
the
the world.
world,
So
yes.
like,
I
um,
would agree.
and so in that, there's so many personalities and so many like famous people
Yeah, and there's a
that
lot of egos.
there's a lot of egos, and also aside from that there's like if 3 or 4 shows or sometimes like 7 shows a night depending on where you're
Right,
working and which of the rooms. If you're managing, sometimes you have all these different moving parts
right.
and you're trying to make sure that like this famous person jumps
Oh,
on
yeah.
stage, but also you have a show like in 20 minutes.
And you have to bump someone else or
Yeah, that's it's tough.
and you already have pros that are there that
Yeah.
already have a big name. They've been maybe headlined everywhere and
Yeah,
been on tour and they're being bumped by somebody else that's even bigger than they are.
it's crazy.
That ego mind fuck has got to be something
Yeah. Most of the
not
people
easy.
though, most of the people are really nice.
Yeah,
Almost everyone is humble and relaxed. They understand. They get the drill. If they've been there for a while, they understand that there's a lot going on in the
right. It's a
cellar.
business.
And if they're new, they're just happy to be there.
Right.
So they understand that we're not that there are other things
Yeah.
going on, and
Yeah.
sometimes they need to cut their time a little bit.
You know,
And so
yeah.
usually like it's the people in the middle where it's like, okay, I gotta just make sure that I'm communicating correctly what's going
Right,
on.
right, and you're good at it. And I'll tell you,
Thank you.
I noticed that about you when I met you, and I have to say your disposition is really like your demeanor is very, very pure and nice, and
Thank you.
I noticed that right away. Um, but also as I produce comedy shows for years,
Mhm.
and I also am a stand-up comic. So the the amount of there's a whole other side of comedy for any of you who don't know about the comedy world. There's another whole side of comedy that's the underground of comedy, the underbelly of comedy, if you will. It's more like there's a lot of ugly in it. You
Yes.
know, they'll make fun of each other, and you won't see that from a real pro. So I know I'm not dealing with a real pro when, like, a bar show comic or an open mic comic will insult me online and stuff like that. I'm like, a pro like Jim
Yeah.
Gaffigan would never do that.
Of
They
course
just
not.
wouldn't do that. They don't stoop that low, and they're happy to do whatever jobs they're given, even if they're on a show with all, um, as they say, bringer shows.
Yeah.
They're happy to be on that show as well. Even Jerry Seinfeld, it's not too low for them, but for some reason, an open micer. has to get paid. And it's like, you didn't pay your dues yet, dude.
It's
I was just talking
yeah.
about this with another comedian.
Well, there's a weird, because the internet, so many things are out there for everyone, and people have opinions that are not in the world or
Right.
don't understand the world. And, you know, everything is getting cleaned up. So to say, I feel like, we're cleaning the culture up a little bit and we're softening things. And in many ways, that's great. In many ways, that's like, there's so many stories that I would hear on like anything I could find on like old, like, 15 years ago on like old YouTube things where it's like, oh, this is an interview that I had like, there's like very few comedian interviews and you're hearing like what's going on.
Right.
And all like cleaning up gross stuff is good, but also something that a lot of people who saw comedy specials saw that like people are laughing and they're like, this is glamorous. I want to do it. They don't understand that comedy like is came from like cleaning money. That it like I mean comedy as an art form is a long thing, but selling it in New York or in LA or in any like nightclub was like, okay, we're selling alcohol or we're selling drugs and
Absolutely.
we're putting comics up for
Right.
these people to just
It's a bar.
it's
It's
a
a
bar.
bar or a restaurant. Yeah.
So like people don't understand
The
that
business side of it.
not just the business side, but where the business side came from and how gross comedy used to be.
Yeah.
And that like where we are now is so much better than where it was. And so the people that are like everyone has to act like this or everyone has to be a certain way,
Yeah.
they don't understand where it came from.
I'm anti-woke, so you can't go by me. Like, I fell in love with comedy because it was so daring.
Sure.
I fell in love with the greats that push the envelope. There should,
Absolutely.
in my opinion, be no boundaries at all. In comedy, I think it should be the Wild West.
Sure.
And that's where people could let go. And that's where people could start to laugh involuntarily and
Sure.
not feel, because it is involuntary, a laugh. And I think it's necessary. I think it's one of the 8 pillars of health that I wrote about in my book. And I really believe that not enough people are getting laughter in. And I don't think that they understand how to get it. Like, I'll look for it online even, but going to a live comedy club, there's
Well,
nothing like it.
the pandemic certainly didn't help this, but like my generation and certainly generations below me are staying at home more because they feel like they can get everything on their phone.
They can't.
Well, that's like you can laugh at something on your phone and that's fun for a second, and then you have no idea what you saw. I mean, I'll send my friends like 10 reels
Right, of
and they'll
course.
be like, that one was funny. I'm like,
Yeah.
which one? You have to show me which one. But like the one of the things in the industry right now is figuring out how to get people outside, how to get people into like out of their house and
Yeah.
into a venue and into a
Yeah.
show. The
Yeah.
Cellar is fine. It's a lot of tourism. It's a an established place.
Right.
But like when I was working at Union Hall, there was a lot of
Oh,
young.
you work there too?
Yeah, yeah. I was both their
What'd you do
production.
there?
I was their production manager, so I did all the sound.
Oh, wow.
And I was also their bar manager. I was actually just talking to their production manager earlier today about
That's a great resume. I've never been there. And it's funny, I'm from Brooklyn. I don't do comedy in Brooklyn. I don't go to shows in Brooklyn because I have everything in New York.
yeah.
But that's a really good thing to have under your belt. And you're a sketch comic, right?
Yeah.
Talk about that.
I'm in a if anyone listening is in Denver for some reason, I'll be in Denver. I have no idea when this goes out.
Oh, it'll go out soon this week.
Wonderful. I'm in
Yeah.
Denver
When?
this week,
Oh, this
Thursday.
Thursday? Maybe it'll be
Might
out by
be.
Thursday.
But my buddy and I have been doing sketch together for 8 years.
Wow.
I know, and no one
I love
knows.
sketch comedy so much. I
Yeah.
love I do it, and I have so many ideas, and I have so many things that I don't execute because I don't have the wherewithal to do
Sure.
it, and I'll just do it on my phone, whatever. But my son just helped me with one of them that I actually have on TikTok and Instagram, and it actually came out good because he helped me because he's technical
Hmm.
and he was with me at the time. But usually when I do a one man show thing, like, it's like I have the idea, but this would have been so much better
Yeah.
if I had a cameraman, and I do it with my phone like this, and my ideas are good, but I just don't execute, and I should get together with you about it.
Sure.
I should
Yeah.
really I really have so many good jokes. The jokes that I do write, that I do perform, are originally sketch
Oh, okay.
comedy, and it turns out to be a stand-up
It's
joke.
like a story
So
or
yeah,
like
I
you're
have to
painting
act
the
it out.
sides.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
have to act it out on stage. But I'm like, this would have
Okay.
been so much better in a sketch.
Sure.
Or not
Sketch.
better, but even it would be good. And even if it was in a cartoon sketch, you
Oh.
could do a cartoon sketch and not have any actors do it.
Mhm.
I could have literally two cartoon characters or three cartoon characters.
Yeah.
Like I have something about parent-teacher conference. I could have the teacher, I could have myself and another parent in the room, and no actors except for voiceovers. I could actually do every voice because I could do voice acting.
That's cool.
So I thought about that too. I'm like, well, who's going to be good at that? And then I'm like, oh, I guess I could go to Fiverr or Upwork or something
Yeah,
and
yeah,
find
yeah.
somebody that would do a cartoon. Those are expensive, those cartoons.
Yes.
They're not cheap, the animated.
No. It takes more time than it needs to. Hopefully, like AI helps
That I think is going to
put
help a lot.
that
Yeah.
in. Um, but yeah, sketch is tough because you see it so clearly in your mind. And
Mhm.
then when pen comes to paper,
Yeah.
it's so
Yeah.
because when you're
That's for sure. I'm like, that was so much funnier in my head. And
yeah,
then I'll watch it and I'm like,
it took years of
I'm
me
sure. A joke
like
takes years.
of course. But like talking with your friends and you're like, no, this is not what I saw in my
When you
head.
have
Why
to
this is
collab
not
with someone else, that's
yeah.
even harder because you're both coming from two different worlds and you have
Yeah.
your vision and they have theirs.
Yeah.
Or they could like totally beat up your vision. Like, oh, that was so much better in my head. What?
Yeah. Taking notes is really hard.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is why most of
Like
my things are
constructive criticism, you mean?
yes, but like notes as in like this is my script, what do you think? And they're like, well, this whole section doesn't make
Oh,
sense. And then you're
that does not make sense.
like I lived my first place out of college, I lived with two different sketch guys, one who became my sketch partner and then one was like another guy. We were all in this uh really bad sketch group in DC that no longer exists. It like was a theater that like hosted a bunch of it was classes and shows and a theater all run by this woman who was also a lawyer.
Well,
So she was like yeah, she was doing a whole lot. And
yeah,
so but they this guy I used to live with moved here to New York
yeah,
years ago
yeah.
and sent me and my roommate who's my sketch partner sorry, my roommate at the time. Anyway, he sent us both this script and he was like, what do you think of this sketch?
Mm.
And I was like, I love this part. This chunk makes no sense to me. And he said, okay, what if that part was the whole reason why I wrote the sketch?
Oh God.
And it's just like
Yeah,
it's
you're
tough
like, yeah,
to
you're like,
see what someone's writing and like everyone's sensibility is different
and
because
there's
it's
your roommate. You gotta live with
yeah,
him.
and it's in your head.
Yeah,
So like
yeah,
so
yeah.
much of it is
Your vision.
yes, and a lot of sketch is like um needs to be done quickly, which it
Yes.
sounds weird, but you
Especially now with people having such a low tolerance
yeah,
for attention. Like their attention span is my husband, I see him scrolling.
yeah.
I'm like, wait.
That's
I'm literally standing with him and I'm like, I'm sitting with him. He's scrolling. I'm like, wait, wait, wait. You didn't even give it 2 seconds.
yeah,
If it's not the first 2 seconds aren't grabbing
yeah.
you by the neck, you're not watching.
I feel
There's
like
so much out there that you're like, I don't have time. I don't have time. Maybe the next one's better.
you're like diagnosing it though. You see a thing and you're like, I know what this is gonna be. This is not for me, and you're
It's
just like
amazing. It's amazing someone can commit to another person after they can't even commit to a real. Right? I mean, look at that.
that's definitely tough
This is mostly a podcast about relationships of any kind, but you're going to tell me about yours and
for
everyone
sure.
else. But also, it's like I said this the other day, and I wrote it in like a kind of a meme form on a reel. I said men have a hard time committing to a woman that could give them joy and love, but they'll have the same cup of coffee
Yeah,
for years and years and years. It's the same cup of coffee. You committed to that. You look forward to your coffee.
yeah.
Do you not want someone else to give you that type of you won't commit to a woman?
I
Do you know what I mean?
definitely
There's so much out there. There's dating sites and there's oh my God, the amount of choices that people have now.
that's the
People,
problem.
I mean, yeah, when I grew
Choice is
up,
the problem.
yes, and when I grew up, I had, and I always say more money, more choices because people are like money doesn't buy out. I'm like more money, more choices, but choices could be bad because when I grew up, we had 7 channels on TV.
Yes, that's the thing I think of. Netflix,
How old are you?
HBO. And I don't mean it like that, but I
No,
mean
how old are you though?
I'm 29.
Okay, you're so young, so you don't even know what the 7 channels were. Like
No, but
you don't even know what I'm talking about.
looking at like
You could
Netflix
be
and
my kid.
HBO and
Yeah,
Amazon, and you're
yeah,
like, I don't want to watch any of these things, but I
yeah.
would
That's
just
true.
throw TV on,
Yeah.
you
Okay,
know?
I understand.
So I get what it's not the same. but I get what you're
You
saying.
know, I'm upset that Amazon Prime has Amazon itself, when you're watching a comedy special,
Yeah.
whatever, there's commercials now. I'm like,
Yes.
that's BS. I'm paying for
They're going right back into TV.
what's
TV's the
missing. And I'm
same.
like, you know what?
It's all
I'm upset about it, but I'm happy that the new generation knows what we went through.
sure.
Because you don't
Good stuff.
understand, before even VHS existed, and there was a world before VHS and before DVDs and Betamax, there was a world that there was nothing. And we couldn't skip a commercial. That was it. You have to watch commercials.
Yeah.
You're in it. And but
They figured
now
out a way to do it again.
they
The
figured
commercials are
out.
back.
Shame on you, Jeff Bezos. I'm kidding. I love you. I love you and I love your stuff and I love Amazon.
They send everything so quickly.
I shouldn't say that. What
So
if I ever
crazy.
want a special on Amazon? I love you, Jeff Bezos. I'm kidding. I'm just saying. I don't love commercials.
Yeah.
Should check this with the police. Yeah,
Sure.
it's working. Look at my technical stuff is so bad. My son helps me out, thank God, with technical stuff because I would be lost.
I think it was easy. I'm sure.
You either have the brain for it or not, I think.
Well, also like growing up, I had video game systems, and my
And so did
parents
my
didn't know how to
kids.
work them.
Yeah,
So like
you
I
had to
plugged them
learn it.
in,
Yeah, you had to
and
learn
then
it.
it's like, oh, we got a DVD player.
Yeah,
Well, you know how this works. You do it. So then
yeah,
you do the DVD player,
yeah.
and then
My
it's like
son is exactly like that.
I
He's
had
24, and
okay, so
yeah,
similar. I had to get a laptop for college. So then I have a laptop in college, and then they're like, okay, do a video essay. And then you're like, okay, so then you learn how to
of
edit.
course, yeah.
And so you just like
You're
get,
in it. Yeah,
yeah,
that's your world. And my son, he used to watch YouTube videos after YouTube videos
yeah, me
after,
too.
and I'm like, oh my God, you're wasting your time. No, he wasn't. He learned so
Yeah,
much. He learned so much. And by the way,
yeah.
school is so much different now. Like people are like so into school. I'm like, listen, I took my kid out at 10th grade. Okay. And
Then
he
where'd you put him?
learned so much. He learned so much. He went around the world by himself at 16.
I wish you could do that.
At 16, my husband sent him around the world solo on $40 a day. He wrote a book about it.
My
It could be a
goodness.
movie. It's called The Making of Bearzilla. It's a great book about his journey around and my husband's a hardcore ultra marathoner. He just got back from Mount Everest. The guy's like hardcore.
Getting back from Mount Everest is big.
Because this is the guy that was sending him at
Jeez.
16.
Okay.
And he didn't know where he was going every 3 days. He did end up at the base camp of Mount Everest, my son, at
Wow.
16. But my husband sent him on like this goose chase. You don't know where you're going to be, and you're going to get an email in 3 days, and you're going to know where you're going to go next, and you're going to have to do a mission.
That's crazy.
And he had to do different missions. And
That's
the
cool
book is
though.
great. The book is great. And then my daughter did it, but she went with my son when she was 17, and she went with my son because he had to guide her because I didn't want her going alone.
Sure, the world's a little different for
Right. So
both
she
worlds.
was also homeschooled in 10th grade. So like that's where,
Okay.
yeah, we took her out too. My other daughter stayed and she graduated, full on high school, whatever, but she's very independent, but she also didn't have the 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 way of being homeschooled at that age. I think you learn everything by the 10th grade anyway. Like you're reading, you're writing, unless you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, there's really no reason to go to college, in my opinion,
I'm done.
because you could learn anything. And my son is so smart. He does so much stuff on his own that you can't learn that in the classroom. And now, with the way they indoctrinate you in classrooms, I am so glad I took him out at the right time. So I'm proud of my decision. My husband is
Yeah.
too.
I don't think you need to go to college.
I didn't go to college, but that was weird. But
Mm,
then I'm going to let you finish in a second. I,
that's
I
okay.
did
It's okay.
interrupted you, but at my stage, I'm 54. But when I was younger, girls just got married. Like we didn't
Oh,
go to. There
jeez.
was
Yeah.
no going to college back then. Now they're starting to in my community, and it's a Sephardic Jewish community. Now they're starting to, of course, the last 2 decades. But when I did go, when I didn't go, and I saw other people were going, I was embarrassed. I'm like, oh no.
I get you. Yeah.
But then what happens to the girls that don't get married by 18 and 19? Now we're in limbo, like we're in purgatory.
Yeah.
So I had to work,
Sure.
but I learned so much. So
Yeah.
much. I became a great salesperson.
You can do a lot of stuff like being in the comedy industry. I could have done all of this without going to college.
Really.
Yeah. This
Oh,
was,
comedy. Yeah.
yeah. Well, working in comedy or doing
You see,
comedy,
well, I consider comics now. Like,
yeah.
you went to law school and now you're a comic,
Yeah.
but they
It's,
are so good at comedy. And they know how to because
yeah.
they know how to learn. They know how to organize their
I
jokes.
know one. Yeah.
Who, Dan Natterman?
Dan
Oh,
Natterman was
he's
a
a lawyer.
makes sense. That's so funny the way he talks.
Yeah. He talks like he's from the 1950s or
Okay.
40s,
So
right?
this is what I see, and I'm not trying to like make a. He
The-
sounds like someone else's version of Rodney Dangerfield to me.
Really?
The cadence,
Oh,
the
yeah.
jokes are, and he's like, yeah, I was.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
how
yeah,
he.
yeah, yeah. But like that's why I say from the 1940s.
Yeah, yeah.
It reminds me of like an old character. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's definitely a character.
Yeah,
That's definitely what
yeah.
I think of Dan
Nice guy.
Natterman as. But so college wise,
Yeah.
all the things I could do
Mm.
were things I learned at like I didn't go into politics. I went into sales because I could like I graduated, I had nowhere to go.
But you were in politics when you went to school. Like you took politics.
Yeah, I
That was
took
your
politics. I interned for the attorney general. I
amazing.
interned for this group called No Labels. They were a bipartisan nonprofit working to end gridlock, which doesn't even matter anymore.
Attorney General in New York?
The U.S. Attorney
Oh,
General
oh,
or the
oh.
U.S. Attorney doesn't matter.
It's
I
good.
already forgot what I
It's a good
did
thing
for a
you don't
year.
do it anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. And then I interned in Ireland,
Mm.
in their parliament for a while.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Wow. You totally took me on that turn. I
yeah.
did not expect that.
I thought I was going to do law school stuff, and then I was like, "Oh, I'm not." I stopped. I didn't buy textbooks. I just stopped buying textbooks after freshman year. And I was like, "If I'm
I
not,"
respect that. I respect that
I
too.
do. You
I'm
know,
sure
it
your
sounds
parents
dumb.
didn't.
No, they didn't tell them.
Okay.
No, I would just go into class. I would would wait for something to be said by someone who read the book, and then I'd go, you know what? I think what they're actually trying to say is this. And then it's like, I got my class participation. I would like wait for what they said. Then when the test came, I do a little bit of studying beforehand. I'd be fine.
Wow.
It's like
So
just,
you're naturally smart. I could tell.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
fine.
like things come easy. Okay, got
Not
it.
everything comes easy, but
I had to study.
things come, things are like, I'm like a B at all things. I
Okay,
can like
good. I'm a
walk into
Jacqueline of all
something.
trades.
Okay.
Master of none. So
Sure, me too. Yeah, I don't think I'm good at.
I don't know what I could do.
Uh, I
I
think
could paint. I could do a comedy. I could
yeah,
do a lot of things. I'm an athlete, but I'm
that's
not.
cool.
But I'm not number one. Actually, I did win first place in an ultra marathon. But
Whoa.
okay, so that happened once. But I'm just saying,
I think
some people are just really good at like one thing,
yeah.
but they can't do other things. You notice that?
But it would be nice to be good at something.
I know, right?
But an
I just
ultra
don't know what
marathon's
it is
good.
yet. I don't know what it is yet. I
Yeah.
don't know.
I haven't found
Maybe
it
I'll
yet.
never find it. I don't know. I don't know. I was hoping it was comedy, but sometimes
Yeah,
sometimes
me
you
too.
can't get to the comedy until you do another avenue. Like there's something that's gonna like Andrew Dice Clay was saying in a podcast that he wasn't so interested in comedy, but he just wanted to be an actor. And
Mm,
he did comedy and that led him to acting.
yeah.
But his true love wasn't comedy.
Yeah.
My true love is stand-up comedy.
Sure.
Like I don't care if that's all I do. That maybe sketch comedy. But doing something else to get there, maybe it'll take a sketch to get me there.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know what avenue is going to take me there, but obviously it's not taking me there through just stand up. And that's really kind of bothering me a little bit.
Yeah.
But I got to say that it happens to the best. So,
Unless you're like Marcelo Hernandez, you're just working for a while at a bunch of stuff.
why
And
it came easily to him?
I've seen him perform like I don't know 15 times now. You've never seen him do the same set. He definitely does some of the same jokes.
Right.
He just goes on stage. I was talking to Leclerc. You know Leclerc,
No.
Andre, fantastic. But he and I were just watching Marcelo. He goes on stage and he's like, "I'm gonna do all new stuff. I have to because I'm about to tour."
Yeah.
It is very clear that people who watch comedy or do comedy that
Yeah.
it is very new. These are probably like the within the first 5 times he said any of these things,
Right.
and he understands where to put an act out, where to put like a voice, where to put an action
Amazing.
so clearly that they're new jokes, where he's clearly still finding what's funny about them, and he can save any of it with the being in the moment and figuring out, okay, do I need to do an accent? Do I need to
And it's
do
not even his first language, English, right?
no, he's
That's
insane.
incredible.
So like, I don't know, when I started doing comedy, I was like obviously much younger than now, and I already felt like I was behind because you just see superstars when
I
they're
started
super
late.
young.
I started late.
When did you start?
I started about 10, 12 years ago.
Okay.
But I wanted to do it in my 20s.
Sure.
I didn't do it because I thought I'm single and I'm never going to get married. No one's going to marry us. no one's gonna want to marry in my community.
Okay.
And that's where I was at. I was like in
I
this little
get you.
bubble. Like I was like, there's no way. I already am in my late 20s and I'm gonna strike another strike against me.
I get you.
Another strike, I'm gonna be a comedian? No.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I squashed the idea and I've said it in a couple of podcasts that my husband told me after like 10 years of marriage. He's like, you're really funny. You should probably take stand up.
Did he? Was that the first time he told you you were
It's the
funny
first time. It's the first time
in
that
10 years?
he didn't know. He just like said I should do. It's the first time he ever said do stand up.
Okay.
He didn't know I wanted to do stand up.
You never shared
I
that with
never
him?
shared that with him
Oh my goodness.
because I squashed it. I like completely shoved it under the bed. I'm
That's
like,
tough.
because I had theater background and I
Okay.
was not doing anything with that. But so I had no stage fright. I knew that.
Sure.
First time I ever did stand up, it was at Gotham Comedy Club, and I only brought him.
Hmm.
They're like, you got to bring people, whatever. I'm like, I'm not bringing anyone. I'm too embarrassed.
Yeah.
And I had no
That's
jokes.
the right move.
Right. And
Bring people.
right. So I did not have anything prepared. I really just thought I'll just tell a few stories that I would tell at a dinner party anyway.
That's sure.
And I did.
Mhm.
And I got off the stage and my husband and I had a fight right before. He's like, "Oh my God, I don't want to go see this. Oh my God, what if you suck?" I'm like, "Michael, I don't even care if I suck. I don't care."
That's an awesome thing. It's your first time going
Yeah, he
on
was
to do
cringing.
that,
He was
and he's
cringing.
like, "Not, don't think about you. Think
No,
about how
he
this
only
affects
cared
me."
about him. So, and he
Hell yeah.
couldn't believe that I didn't care. I'm
Uh-huh.
like, it's 6 minutes. I'm not gonna die, And I was nervous before I got on, especially because we had a fight right beforehand, and I was nervous. But then the second I got on, my 2 feet hit the stage. I was at peace with myself.
Uh,
So at home on stage. It
that's
was
good.
crazy. And I just told some jokes, whatever, not jokes, just stories, whatever that were funny. And I got off the stage. My husband writes to me. He texts me from across the room. Well, you didn't suck.
Hell yeah. And
Like,
that's the
can I
support
have a hug?
comedians need.
Can I have a hug? I just got off the stage in front of
Yeah.
250 people for the first time. And then some guy, right, who's about to get up, he goes, "Is that your first time?" And I didn't recognize this guy. And he goes, "Is that your first time?" I said, "Yeah, could you tell?" He goes, "No, you're a natural. You should keep doing
Oh,
it."
that's
So
fantastic.
I said, "Thanks." And I didn't know who he was. And he got on stage. I'm like, I don't remember him from our comedy class.
Sure.
And it was Jim Gaffigan. I asked someone,
Get out of
I'm like, this
here.
guy's great. Who is this guy?
This guy's so natural
And
at
then someone
storytelling.
said, yeah, and someone said, no, that's Jim Gaffigan. You should look him up. He's a really good comedian. And I was like, well,
That's
that's the guy who told me I was natural. And I told him a couple of uh, like months ago.
mm-hmm.
I saw him at something, and I said, "Just want to let you know." You told me I was like, he goes, "Did I say that?" I go,
That's
"No,
so nice.
that's great. Thank you for telling me that I
Yeah.
said that." Because half the time people don't remember what they say to people, but I wanted to let him know that he really did. He gave me a little bit of a incentive to keep going, and so I did it a little bit, and then I stopped,
Mhm.
and then I moved to Hawaii.
A great place to move, I assume.
I
I've
didn't
never
think
been.
I didn't think I was ever going to do comedy in Hawaii. I thought they were all like locals and they're not
Mhm.
going to get me. Like, who's going to get me? So I found this group there there was a New Yorker. I was like, oh my God, you're from New York? She goes, yeah. I'm like, you could do comedy in Hawaii? She goes, yeah. So I called up and I'm like, oh, could I do it? They're like, come to our open mic. It's after a show and come. It's at 10 o'clock. Of course, everybody just
Yeah, of
leaves.
course.
They're like, hey, listen, that was our show, but if you want to stay for our open mic, and everyone's like, nah, we'll leave.
Yeah, everyone's like, I've been here for an hour and a half.
Exactly. So they leave, and there's like three people left in the audience, and my friend came to support. And I was like talking about my first set that I did in New York. It was like I only went up 4 or 5 times in New York, and I was talking about like Jewish stuff. Like no one even knows what a Jew is here. So I didn't do that well. And then my friend was like, wow, I really admire you. You can go up there. I'm like, that's not the part that you should
Yeah.
be admiring. I could go up anywhere. I'll go up on the Statue of Liberty right now with a microphone. I have no stage fright. I'm like, are you laughing? So I ended up they ended up having an open mic at 8 o'clock instead of the show with
Okay.
real people in
That's
the
cool.
audience. And
It's a
that's when
real
I sat
chance.
down pen to paper and really, really honed in on a 7 minute set or 7 or 8 minute set. And I did so well. They asked me that night, do you want to come back next week? A paid spot.
That's wonderful.
So in Hawaii, you're a big fish in a small pond. What happens over there is like it's like New Jersey with like a nicer ocean. So it's a small community. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
not, it's like a very small, like they'll rotate you, but you could do longer sets. They pay you. So it's like, New York is so saturated. There's like
Yeah.
9,000 comics anywhere you
Exactly.
go. If one comic says no, you'll just grab another one off the street. Come on in.
Yeah.
And you can get the comics and there's a million clubs and there's a million open mics. uh, and there was nothing out there. So it's like you could do 15 to 20 minutes, you're
Mhm.
going to get better. You're just going to get better on time alone. Just like a runner, if you're a runner, if you run, people say that it's junk miles. I don't know if you know anything about running.
No,
People are like, oh, you're just running too much. I'm like, no, you need to run a lot in order to have the threshold, to have the pain to run in a race.
it's a junk mile.
Junk miles, people consider them junk miles, like you just run for hours a day. And people think that that's a waste of time. That's not a waste of time. That's actually giving you the mileage.
Mm.
And because of that, you will go faster in a run. Even if you do those
Why do they
slowly,
think it's a waste of time?
because they think that you're wearing yourself out. But my husband is a world class runner and he's an
Sure.
ultra marathon champion. And he trained me. And he's like, don't listen to outside noise, just listen to me. And I did everything he said to do in my training for 6 weeks. I won first place in a 100K race, which is 62 miles in the mountains of Vermont. And I did
Whoa.
not have a running
How long?
background.
How long did it take to get first place? Like, what's the top time in that?
Mine was 14 hours and 20 minutes.
That's
And it was the
so
mountains.
crazy.
It was the mountains. And then I became the top 10 in the 50-mile race in the national championship. But I did that with no running background because my husband trained me to the T, to the letter. I did what he said.
14 hours of running would drive. I mean, I don't want to do 1 hour of running.
Yeah. So even if you want to do a half marathon, I say go high mileage. Like marathon runners, they go, what do they do? Like 120 miles per week.
Jeez.
So I had to do that in order to run marathons and ultra marathons. You had to do extra miles because then your body's used to going those miles. Because like if you're training under those miles, all of a sudden you're like at the 18-mile mark at a 26.2-mile race, and you're like, I'm done at 18.
Sure.
No, you didn't get yourself used to it. So you don't have to go fast for those long, long, long days,
Mm,
but you have to go those miles. So I did a lot of slow running, slower than normal pace for me.
mm.
I would do a lot of slow running.
Interesting.
Then you have just a short fast day. Do you know what I mean? There's different
Sure.
training levels in your week.
Sure.
So this is all brand new to probably some of you
I
out
don't
there
know
too.
anything about this, so that's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah. So running was like not my background, but I started in my 30s.
That's good to know that you can just like
Oh,
get
you could pick
fit
it
like
up.
that.
In fact, you get better because you're not worn out. Your body's not,
Mm,
it has no wear and tear. So it's like you could start slowly and you could start getting better and better. And that's why you see ultra marathons that were, starting late in life. Like they're older people and you're like, how are they still doing it? They started late.
sure.
They don't have that wear and tear. My husband has a lot more wear and tear than I do because he ran in his high school days. I didn't. We didn't have those type of um, running teams or anything. I went to a very small high school in Brooklyn, but I didn't know anything about this stuff until I got married.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So, how is your relationship now? That's a nice transition, right? Like,
Um,
but
sorry, working long hours, you just like have a permanent
you
like.
do have a good voice. Like
Thank you.
you could do radio and like voiceovers, I think.
Thank you. My mom did when not Macy's, when
A parade?
no when like they would do their holiday. She was younger. She would be like the woman that would pick up the phone for Nordstrom's
Okay.
during the holidays.
All right.
And she would do like the hello,
Oh,
like this is
wow.
Nordstrom's like
Oh,
holiday thing. Like what would you need?
so maybe
I
you
don't know what
have
you say
that
on the phone.
gene. Maybe you have that.
Yeah, yeah, she's got a really nice voice. And my dad sings.
I'm a
So
singer
like
too.
that's cool. My dad didn't do it till later in life. He was a guitar player, but he was a construction, well, he's a contractor,
Oh,
general
okay. Yeah,
contractor.
yeah, yeah.
So he's got big fingers and he's a big guy.
Okay.
And I just meant like it's hard to like
Right,
get
right,
the
right,
guitar.
right,
So
right,
he's like a decent guitar player. He
right.
just wanted to sing while he did it, and then all of a sudden he has this like
He's an opera singer?
huge voice. No,
Really?
he just has a like a very full
It's great that he
voice.
discovered that.
Yeah, and my sister sings. She was a an a cappella person. My mom was a musical theater person, and I can't play an instrument and I can't sing at all. It's
I
very
can't play an instrument
frustrating.
because I never really learned,
Mm.
but my voice was my instrument, so that was my talent. Um, but you have it with your voice, though. I think
Thank you.
you're good. You're very poised and you're very articulate. So
Thank you.
yeah,
I back to your question about
what's that going to
my
do for you in
relationship.
life? I don't know, but that
I
I just
don't know.
wanted to give you that
I would love
little.
to, yeah, send your requests to the local
There
radio station to
you
have
go.
me. Um, So one of the cool things about one of the only like real benefits I saw to college after doing it
Okay.
before you don't know, but like after doing it, is I made some good friends.
Mm,
Kind of feels like extra high school. It's kind of like
mm.
still maturing. It seems with
I
how
see what you mean.
they're saying like with life
Yeah,
expectancy
yeah,
going
yeah.
certain
Yeah.
ways and like
It's an extension of high school.
yeah, and people are just maturing later.
Right.
Everyone's kind of like a kid later in life
I think
than
so.
they, yeah.
Definitely now in this generation,
Yes.
100%.
So I was still kind of figuring all that out, and I met this girl who I thought was real cool early on in college, and I didn't really know what I was doing. And she was really like into hockey and like a few other things, and I had a friend. I was like, "Oh, you're into hockey and the thing she's into. You guys should hang out." And then later, like when I was a senior, friends of mine were friends with her, and they were like all at a bar. They're like, "Hey, you should come hang."
Mm.
And I did, and we like hit it off. And I think
Still with her?
I'm still well.
Oh.
So we had like a little um we like met for a little bit and then like I think we went to a few parties or whatever and at this time like sorry one friend of mine was a senior we had graduated
Mm.
so one of my friends was still in college me and my other friend had graduated we're all hanging out with this other girl and the night went well it was really cool and I like took off the next day from work.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, to just hang out with her. And we just went, we lived in DC at the time. I went to school in DC for
How long ago
politics.
was this?
20, it was 10 years ago.
Okay.
That's so crazy. Wait, no, I couldn't have been 10 years ago. I graduated in 2017. Just kidding. I always get my high school and my college. I
No,
don't know
right,
why.
right.
So it was 2018, so it was 6 years ago. It's
Okay.
much less time than 10 years.
That's not much less time, but all right.
Um,
So now where's the relationship now? She's in
so
DC?
no. We met in DC.
We're in New
We
York now,
hung
just so
out.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We hung out for like a couple weeks and then she had some stuff going on and that was it and we didn't talk. I never
What
saw
did
her
she
again.
take in college?
She's a social worker.
Oh, okay.
So whatever that is. I
Whatever
don't
that
know.
is.
She did some nursing things and then psychology, probably psychology.
Okay.
She probably majored in psychology. That would make
Okay.
sense. Um
And you
and
lived with her?
and no, at the time we
Oh.
were just friends of friends.
Oh, okay.
And for a week we like or a few weeks we hung out and
Were you dating at the time also? Dating other girls?
not really.
Okay. By choice.
No,
Just
just like I don't know.
just didn't think of it.
I was just kind of just I didn't know what I was doing with my life at the
Right.
time.
Right, right. So
I
you
like
weren't that wasn't your priority.
no, I was really focusing on comedy. Even though I had nothing I wasn't
What's
doing
that
anything.
like? My God, when I was your age, when I was that age, I was like, oh my God, my whole career was looking for husbands.
Well, I don't know. I was just so focused on comedy even though I
I just
didn't know
wanted
what I was
marriage.
doing.
That was all I wanted.
That's I mean I knew I
My husband
eventually
wasn't even
wanted.
ready because he's 7 years younger than I am. So he was
Oh,
probably in
really?
kindergarten when I was looking.
Um, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know what I was doing with anything. I just really wanted to do comedy, and like my roommate at the time would like come back like home and be like, "Hey, this is what happened at work." I'd be like, "I don't want to hear about work. I only want to hear about comedy."
That's
It's
the
like so
problem
crazy.
with comedians. Like we
Yeah.
all like give up everything else for comedy, and then we like, wait a minute, that's not paying the bills.
Well, also
That's not doing anything for me right now. I
I
don't know what to
was
do.
yeah. I was starting, so comedy wasn't making any money. I just like
Right. Yeah.
I didn't know anything about anything, so I
I'm sure.
just would put all my time. I would
Would you
like
go to
go to
open
work.
mics every night and stuff like that?
Well, I did sketch. I was too scared to go on stage.
Oh,
I did
but your
awful
sketch is
stand-up.
live.
Yes. Yes. It took me a while to get there.
Oh,
I was in this like sketch group. We would do sketch shows once a month, maybe once every other month. No one would learn their lines.
oh
So
God.
we'd all go on stage,
You have to rely on other
get
people, which
yeah.
sucks.
It was terrible. But you learn a lot. Like, you need to start somewhere, and you're not going to start good. So you might as well
And you
do
learn
something
to
like
be a
that.
team player, I think.
Yeah.
It's like a sport. Like
Yeah.
I didn't put my kids in sports as kids, but I realize now that I mean, they're good at team playing, but I think that it does help
Yeah.
them learn how to, and that's what sketch comedy does that, and so does improv.
Yeah. I like smaller teams. I mostly work in duo forms.
I'm good with one-on-one.
Yeah, it's easier to communicate your idea, and it's easier to not have certain parts stripped away.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that's true.
so
Well, as a
yeah,
comic, I need an audience, which sucks.
yeah, that's really
I'm like,
helpful in sketch.
yeah, I know, but I need an audience. Like there's no other way around it. But I am glad that it's just me on stage instead of like a bunch of people on stage.
Yeah,
Although I used to do musical theater, so I
sure.
had to have other people on stage. You had to interact. And when they didn't know
Yeah,
their lines, I'm like,
that's tough.
I got to
It's really hard.
improv now because you don't remember your lines, and
Yeah,
you have to be on your toes when you do live comedy. I mean, live theater.
yeah.
The one thing that live theater did deter me on comedy is I there was no fourth wall. You couldn't break a fourth wall.
Yeah, that's
You
tough.
can't look in the audience.
Yeah.
You have to be in your own world. So somebody pointed out to me, you're not really with the audience
Oh,
when you're up on stage. And I'm like, why am I
oh,
doing
when
that?
you're doing it.
Yeah, I
Oh,
wasn't as connected.
I
And then when
see.
I saw that and I took that note, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's what I'm missing. And now I go deep into the weeds, into the audience, and I talk to them and I look at them when I'm doing my comedy as opposed to just looking out there into the ether, which is what a theater major does.
Yeah,
You know, when you're in a thespian, you're just like,
yeah.
nobody exists.
That's a problem with sketch, in my opinion. We'll get back to my girlfriend eventually. She's
No,
fine,
we can talk
but
about it
yeah,
now if you
wait,
want.
but this
All
is
right,
like
this is more you.
just this is a thing I like to talk about in comedy. Like I love vaudeville,
Yeah.
or I mean, I obviously didn't see it, but my grandfather's
Right, right.
stories.
You
He
like
was
those
he
things.
was like a a
Well,
Jewish
there's
boy in the
enough
Bronx.
literature on that now that you can see.
He would go to vaudeville. He would sneak out and go to vaudeville shows. My grandfather was very old when he had my mom. So like he was old enough to go to vaudeville shows,
Right.
and like told me about that when I was a kid, and like showed me like I my the Jewish side of my family introduced me to Mel Brooks, and the English, Irish, German side introduced me to Monty Python. So I
Got it.
had this
So you
like
had the
really good education,
yeah.
comedy education early
Yeah.
on
That's a
of
lot.
silliness
Hmm.
and what's the like it's like alt without being alt
Yeah.
because like Mel
Yeah.
Brooks was the thing,
Uh,
Monty Python was the thing, but it
yeah.
just was very odd, in many ways cerebral. And my mom always would make sure that we would go to, she would like take us out of the world, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I went to the Renaissance Festival a bunch growing up, and where we go to like Colonial Williamsburg or like something that's like
Out of the
out of it.
yeah.
And in there, I'd see people who were both.
Very cultured.
Thank you very much. I'm trying. I I'd see people who are performing on stage,
Right.
who are doing an act,
Right.
and then they'd address the people.
Oh,
So I tried to put
I
that
see
in
what you
my
mean.
sketch.
That's also melodrama. They give
Yeah,
them a lot of melodrama. You know what I'm talking about? How they just like
read. I said yes, but I actually don't know what
oh,
you're
okay.
talking
Melodrama is like over dramatic, like,
Yes, yes,
and
yes.
then they'll be like, "Oh,
I thought
yes,
you.
I
Yeah,
understand what you're saying. What did you say? What did you say?" And they would break the fourth wall.
yeah. I saw my mom would also take us to musicals.
Right.
I didn't see a lot of
I saw
plays.
a lot of
I saw
musicals growing up.
growing up.
Yeah,
'Cause
me too.
I'm from Westchester, so
Oh
she would
yeah.
take us to kids'
Oh
night on.
yeah, yeah. You told me that. Yeah, yeah. I went to a lot of Broadway shows as a
Yeah,
kid.
my mom
My
was super
parents
into
took
theater.
us that. Yeah. So back to your
So in that I see like in going to like the sketch shows or the musicals or whatever, I would see the difference in that. And like a lot of sketch is like a scene. A
right,
lot of sketch is either a theater production or it's like a TV show and no one's talking to each other. And in stand up, it's directly only talking to the people and there's no real script. I mean,
right,
there's obviously you know what you're saying and
right,
there's points that you need to hit, but in sketch it's only script. So if something goes wrong, you can't even address it. And
right.
I tried to do the middle of that. What I saw was like vaudeville. What I saw was like Mel Brooks,
Uh huh.
which is like we talk directly to the audience.
Right.
We have a slideshow behind us.
Oh,
We
I
tell
want to see
jokes,
this.
and
Yeah.
then the slideshow on the next show, I'll let you know when it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
We have a script, and we're talking. We're called the Better Business Bros. Look us up. Um,
Yeah.
Business Binness.
Okay.
Business.
Business.
But we're like pitching something. Like we're doing a thing on Thursday about religion. So we talk about why everyone's religion is dumb. We have
It's a hard sell.
it is
I'm
because
writing a
it can
joke
get
about it.
well, it can get really touchy.
Yeah,
So what we have to do is look at the dumbest parts of it.
right,
Like if we're making fun of Jesus, we're like he can walk on water and turn like walking on water, turning water into wine is pretty cool. But like this stuff is like silly.
right.
Like well, maybe that's not the best thing to say on a pod. It's like
Ah, it doesn't matter.
we talk about like prayers and penance,
Hmm.
and then we show like Mother Teresa, and then we're like, but if she could suck my penance, that would be
Yeah, yeah,
great.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
so
No, I
dumb.
know what you mean.
And
I
then
know what you
like
mean.
for Judaism, it's like too many Jewish American princesses,
Oh,
not enough Jewish American princes.
guilty.
So
Yeah,
it's just
yeah,
silly. It's silly.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So we
That is
go.
true, though. There are not, and that's why it's funny because some of the Asian women take our only Jewish men away. We're like, thanks, Asians. We know you're
Yeah.
better at everything. Thanks, Asian women.
Um,
That was one of my first jokes I wrote, and I never told it because I was like too afraid to, cross a boundary at such an early time in my comedy. But that was one thing that I was like pissed about, and I
yeah,
should have talked
that
about it.
is really silly.
We should have talked about it
Yeah.
because it was really something that really bothered me because it was like, wow, we have 5 Jewish guys in our community. But yeah, by all means, Asian women, please take the only 5 that we have because we could only marry Jews and you Asians can marry anyone. Thank you for taking them. But
That's so
it
funny.
used to piss me off like in
Yeah.
real life. So like I wanted to talk about that, but of course make it into a joke.
Yeah.
Of course I could joke about almost anything.
So we'll talk about it, and then the pictures behind us are either adding to the joke
I
in a
see.
silly way, or
Yeah.
they're like the opposite of what we're doing.
I always
Like,
wanted to do a comedy show like that, like a
yeah.
special where I had pictures of something and then talk about it.
Well, it's like
I might do that.
it's not traditional stand up,
No,
but
I
every
know.
art form evolves, and that's what I see
Mm.
as like where comedy is going. Additional because like everyone's on their phones, they need a little bit more of
Oh yeah.
stimulus.
Yes.
So
So that would
pictures
help.
and then
Yes.
sound.
Yeah, I
Like
know.
eventually, we will incorporate sound. It takes a
As
little
long as it's
while.
funny, I tell you, I could watch any speech as long as you made me laugh in it. Like I can't handle any type of like graduation speech, even
Oh my
even
gosh,
a
they're so boring.
what do you call it? A eulogy. Like if you're not
Can
making me
I?
laugh, yeah, go.
Okay, so we're at my aunt's funeral,
Mm.
and um, my cousin was a comedian. There used to be a video online of him performing at Caroline's. I can't
Oh,
find
okay.
it anymore.
All right.
Um, he worked for HBO for a while, but we were at his mom's funeral, and
Mm-hmm.
it was a Jewish funeral. So you have the men on one side and the women on the other side,
Mm-hmm.
and he's the last one to throw dirt on the casket.
Mm-hmm.
And then he looks at the men's side and he looks at the women's side and he sees how close they are together. And he was a huge basketball fan.
Mm-hmm.
And he put his hands down and then ran through the aisle for low fives
Really?
at his mom's funeral right after throwing dirt on. And my dad and I are dying. My mom
Laughter?
is not. Oh, of course. It was so funny. It's the funniest, like, that helped break the
Right.
tension.
Yes, it does.
Like, he was really close with his mother, and, like, he it's a tough thing to bury your mom when he was late 30s,
Yeah.
maybe early
Yeah,
40s.
yeah.
And that going down, I will never forget
I
that
love
he's
that. I love that. I
yeah.
I was one of the only people that talked at a funeral. It's my first time speaking at a funeral because usually in my community the women don't speak, which is horrible. But anyway, I think it's changing. But I was at the owner of Broadway Comedy Club and Greenwich Village Comedy Club. He was a friend of mine, and I used to work there. And I mean, I produced shows there. Um, and I was devastated when he died. And they asked me right before I went up. My husband's like, "You're not going to say anything, right?" I'm like, "They're going to forget." They have 2,000 people there are
Yeah,
250 people here and 2,000 watching live stream. They're not going to remember to ask me. All of a sudden, like 15 minutes goes by, and the rabbi's like, "Is Victoria Arnstein here?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So I get up not prepared, not knowing what I'm going to say. And the first thing I think I said was,
that's kind of the best though.
I know, but I did say, yeah, I looked at the casket and I said, Al, I asked you for more stage time, but this is not what I meant.
Hell yeah.
And
That's
it
awesome.
was like it broke the ice,
Yeah.
And then, because I did, shows where the comics had to bring people. I'm like, you'd be happy to know, Al, that I brought a few people. I did. I brought my husband. I brought a few
That's
people.
so funny.
So,
That's so fun.
but till now, like they liked it. Everybody liked the, and then in between, I gave the heartfelt part, stuff.
Of
But
course.
I have to make them laugh too.
Yeah.
So what happened was, till now, people, I mean, that were at Broadway Comedy Club, accused me of asking for stage time
Oh,
the day of the funeral. I'm like, on my drunkest day, I would never ask that serious question.
it's a
Saying it was a joke.
yeah.
So that's where the mix up is. So that's why comedy could be
Yeah.
offensive to people, and then they take it the wrong. People take things the wrong way
Of
because
course.
they want to take it the wrong way. In a way, it's almost like they're waiting to have a fight with you. Like they want to be upset with you, so they want to. I see it online.
Yeah, I know.
People want to be upset with somebody that just said a joke online. I'm like, they're just joking, or I'm just joking.
I feel like it's if you're in a bad mood, you find something you can justify. Well, they're acting like this, so I'm
Yeah,
able to take my. They're not like
no.
purposefully. I am gonna do something like I'm gonna ruin someone's day. It's they feel bad. They see something and they're like, "That's dumb. I need to tell them that they're dumb."
Oh yeah,
And it's like, no, you don't.
and my
You don't
Instagram
need to tell anyone
handle,
anything.
is Victoria Makes You Laugh.
Yeah.
And people that don't agree with me politically or whatever, for whatever reason, they always have to mention, you didn't make me laugh.
Yeah. Well, and
So you know what? I'm like, oh, did you write that joke yourself? It's so original. I'm like, wait, first of all, I'm glad I didn't make you
yeah.
laugh because I don't want you happy. So thank you for not laughing. I'm glad you're not
It's
laughing.
also tougher for women. I have a good friend
Oh yeah, definitely.
who just did a commercial.
I'm gonna use that as an excuse. You're right. It's so much tougher for women.
No, but like, well, I feel like
It is. We
because
have
of
to
men.
prove ourselves.
But like my friend, I have a friend, musical comedian, really, really funny.
Okay.
She booked a commercial, and I guess they like did a lot of makeup on her or whatever, and they made her look a little different.
Yeah.
She still looked exactly the same to me, but I have known her for a while,
Okay.
so um, found her online after the commercial because like she did good in the commercial, and then people started commenting like, "Oh, I followed because I thought you were hot. Now I see what you really look like." And it's like, what is going on?
What is that?
She's just a person,
That's
and she
horrible.
booked a commercial.
Yeah, that's
What
horrible.
an insane.
Like when people make fun of the looks. It's like, don't, there's nothing they can do about that. You know what I mean? Just don't.
But also, like, people are just angry for no reason, and
Yeah.
then they throw something into the void for no reason,
Well, they're
thinking that no one sees
obviously,
it.
yeah, like I said, Jim Gaffigan and Jerry Seinfeld are not lowering
Yeah,
themselves to, you know what I mean,
yeah.
criticize you, but a guy at the bar, you know what I mean? A bar show comic will.
Well, that's a good intersect to finish the. So one of the things that I do in my sketch that very rarely other people do is because I talk to the audience. It's kind of like a Shark Tank thing where we're
Mm.
pitching to them.
Oh, okay.
I know these sketches so well that if someone starts talking in the front row, I had like
Oh, you can come back to it. That's great.
yeah,
That's
and
great.
there's slides behind me, so even
That's,
if I get
oh, that's
lost,
great.
there's a slide
That's
right there.
great.
And we had a show. We got a little too ambitious. You need to fail in order to know where the lines are. So
That's
we
for
were
sure and everything.
what I felt we were doing really well. And we had sketches that were really well in that we were funny, not really well in that we were getting paid a lot.
You use props and change outfits and stuff? Or?
Mostly just an outfit thing, very little
Okay.
props.
Mm.
Well, we have some props. I'll explain that one in a sec. We have a great COVID sketch, in my opinion. Um,
So what happened at the show when
we
they were
had,
heckling?
we did, at the time we were called Homeless Fire Party. People didn't like the name. I wonder why. And
I don't mind it.
I thought it was a great name, but that's a whole,
Unhoused?
yeah,
It's like, come on.
I had a friend's sister try and like come after us, and be like, "What's going on? This is an insane name." And it's like, it's just, it has nothing to do with
Yeah.
anything. But anyway, um, it was called Homeless Fire Party Presents the 2020 Misinformation Pageant.
Okay.
And so we had like, misunderstanding and like,
I call myself misunderstood.
see, there we go. And it's like all a bunch of like, like the opposite of like, what was it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's cute.
It's been years since I did it.
I think sketch is so creative.
So we went a little far in the idea.
Okay.
Had a little too much going on.
Okay.
And I think we lost a few people in the front row.
Because they were offended?
They just didn't know. A bunch of people came to the show. It was at the DC Improv. A bunch of people came to the show who did not know who we were.
Okay.
And
And loved it.
that's great that
Yeah.
a bunch of people normally do.
Right.
This was People who worked in the state house.
Okay.
Not no, we were just like we're going to a comedy show. They
Oh,
came to see
okay.
the
So it's different.
misinformation pageant,
Okay.
and we make a joke, and they're like, "That's not true." They say the woman's like, "Well, that's not true."
Oh
She says
God.
it. She's in the front row. She says that's not true, and we have the ability to pivot from
Okay,
something
good.
I know so well.
Right.
I don't remember what my quip was, but I was able to address
Oh,
the
thank God.
audience to be like, this is a comedy show. None of this is true.
Right. Oh,
This is
good.
all we're all everything we're
It's
saying
always
is
good to explain jokes.
nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that isn't true. That's the joke. The
Yeah.
joke is that what I'm saying is dumb and
Right.
wrong.
Yeah.
I'm showing you I know what this item
Right, right,
is,
right.
and then I'm showing you the wrong way to do it.
Right.
That's a joke.
Yeah.
I showing that you understand something and saying it wrong.
Right.
Um,
For those of you who are
it's
not
unreal.
comics and don't understand the comedy world, I apologize, but this is really interesting to comics and
Yeah.
to people that understand the comedy world. But if you want to also pivot to the girlfriend story,
Oh
because
my
I think
goodness.
everybody's still waiting to hear
I'm
that.
sorry, guys. And I'm especially
It's
sorry to my
fine. That's
girlfriend.
what comics do. Especially
She
since what?
Oh, I'm especially sorry to my girlfriend.
Oh, because this is someone else.
No,
This is the same person.
this is the same person. I'm still talking about the same
Okay.
person.
Who's now your girlfriend?
She's now my girlfriend, and we live together.
Oh, okay.
She's coming back into New York in like an hour.
Okay.
She's been in New Hampshire with friends, which is great.
Live free or die.
Yeah.
My
Oh yeah.
husband, my husband climbs Mount Washington every birthday in January. It's just crazy. I always have to check
That's crazy.
the obits to see who's alive. Go
That's
ahead,
so crazy.
because he loses
Um,
cell phone service.
so
But yeah.
we had a just to bring the audience back. We had a fun time for a short amount of time in college,
Okay.
and we did not talk to each other after.
Okay. Why?
Um, she just had some stuff going on
Okay.
that she was still figuring out. And then
You're the same age?
a year and a half,
Okay.
so just one grade below. Um, and like it took well, I texted her about a show and she's like, "Oh, sounds good. Good luck." And then she moved out of the city, so I never saw her again. She moved here. She moved from DC to here.
You're kidding.
Um, and I was really early. This was so years ago, so I moved back to New York a couple of years ago, and I was managing at Union Hall, but I was not the floor manager yet. I was just the production manager. So I did a sketch mic,
Oh, good. I
and
didn't know they had those.
they do have 'em. I run a sketch mic
Still?
last Tuesday of every month. If you want to do sketch, it's at Pine Box Rock Shop in Brooklyn. It's a fantastic venue.
Well, I'll
They
check
do
it. I
lots of
will come
mics.
out.
Yes,
I'll
come
come
out.
to Brooklyn for that.
Hell yeah. You can
But I'm a one man show. Like, I don't know
Well,
how.
we have lots of different options. We
What?
have all the things. You can bring and perform your own sketch. You
Mm.
can just write a sketch, or you can just perform in sketch. We have all the things. We have like banked sketches of people that submit to see what their sketch looks like so that they can see physically like, hey, this is how this would work, and then they work on it for their shows later. And then my partner Jacob, who runs the show with me, my other friend, who's now one of our partners, his name is also Connor. He spells it the wrong way.
Of course, it's the wrong way.
It's of course the wrong way. But we have a teleprompter,
Yeah.
so you don't need to memorize these sketches ahead
Oh,
of time.
wow.
We send you the sketch so you can know what you are.
Oh, you give out the sketch?
We have
We can't write our own.
no,
You
it's
said
all of
we
it.
can.
So I will bring my own sketches
Okay.
and I will perform them with my friend Connor.
What if I wrote mine? Could I give it to you and then it's on a teleprompter?
Yeah.
Really?
So
I've never looked at a
we chunk it
teleprompter.
out into a teleprompter, and
Huh.
then we also put backgrounds in so that
When do you do that?
uh
An hour before the show?
like a week before.
Oh, a week before.
So
So
we
I'd
have a
have to
deadline.
submit.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So we have that, and then we have people who just submit and don't want to act, and then we have people who just want to act and don't want to submit. So it's all the different things. If you want to learn how to act a little bit better, if you want to learn how to write a little bit
And do you
better,
video it? They do. They video it.
we don't video it,
You
but I
could
take
video your
pictures.
own set.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, of course. Um,
That's interesting.
yeah. Uh,
So back to the girlfriend.
so I was at a sketch. I was at a sketch mic.
I told you it's an organic
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah, yeah. No, it
Up and
flows
down.
good.
Yeah.
I get very distracted easily. I
So
can
do
know
I. I know it's
that.
reels on Instagram.
Yeah. But so I was at a sketch mic and had like was like, okay, I have nothing to do. I'm gonna go walk to work because I was like 20 minutes walking from work. Uh, and so I go there and I'm with people that I'm not the boss of yet. So I'm a manager, but
Oh,
I'm not the bartender's
yeah,
manager.
yeah, yeah.
So they're like, do you want shots? Do you want to just be drinking? So
Really?
I am doing lots of shots. We're hanging out, watching the shows. We were at uh Deanne Swift's show. I think it's Deanne Swift, Deanne Smith.
Where?
Anyway, it's Deanne. Deanarchy is the
In
name of the
Brooklyn.
show in Brooklyn at Union
Okay.
Hall.
Okay.
Um, we were at Deanarchy, and I had a bunch to drink. And I see this girl walk by me, and I was like, I do this. I stare a little too much.
Okay.
I'm bad at like reacting.
Uh,
I'm like a little slow. I feel like if I see like a
be at all.
no, that's the problem. I see a pretty lady and I look at them for like 2 seconds,
Yeah.
but I don't smile.
Right.
I just like look and I go,
Okay.
"Oh, that person's pretty." But it takes me a second to
To
like,
register
yeah,
and
and
process.
then I realize I've been staring at this person for four
At
seconds.
least you realize it.
Oh, yeah, and then I look away and then that's it. But
Okay.
I saw this woman
Yeah.
and I smiled. I never smile. 'Cause I recognized her.
Okay.
I didn't have didn't wasn't 2 seconds to be like, "Who is this?" I saw her and I was like,
Right.
"Oh, that's someone I knew years ago."
Right.
I smiled and she smiled back, and I was like,
She recognized you?
"Sort of."
Okay.
So I text her. I still have her number.
You're kidding.
So
You
I
texted her
text
while
her.
she was there?
Yeah, she was on a date with someone else.
Oh, wow.
I texted her. I was like, "Hey, if I'm wrong, please disregard. I'm so sorry. But I think I just saw you at my venue."
Wow.
And then as her story goes, she said that she was talking
Your
to her
methods,
date,
yeah.
and she was like, "I think I just saw someone
Mm.
I recognized." So she doesn't look at her phone for like, like a half hour. And then she looks at it and texts me back, "What do you mean your venue?" And I was like, there we go. I just said my venue to get her
Mm.
in because she thought I was being like annoying. I was like, "This
Right.
is a regular bar." I was like, "Oh, I manage this."
Look at that salesmanship.
Yeah.
I like that.
You like
Got her in
those
the
new
door.
speakers? We bought them last week. It was weeks and weeks of me doing research.
Right.
And
You got together from there.
I was like, yeah, we should catch her up. And then we hung out, I think,
And who called you
Friday.
after that? Or
Uh,
texted?
well, we saw each other. We went out for the
Right, but
date.
she was with somebody else that night.
Yes. So it was like a week later.
Okay, I was
We
like,
went out for
she
a week.
dropped him that night?
No, not that night, but we went out
Yeah.
on a Friday, and then I went home like Saturday night.
How long ago was this?
Um, February of last year.
Okay, so you're living together
Yeah,
for how long?
we moved in together a little quick.
Like 6 months ago?
We moved in together in July.
Okay.
And so we dated for like a year and some
Before the,
change
oh,
before we
all
moved in
together.
together.
Oh, before you moved in together.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that's good.
And now it's like a year and a half. Um,
And you think you're gonna get married?
I don't know. She's cool.
She's watching this. She's
She
watching this.
definitely will watch this. She's very nice. That's one of the things. This is not going to be surprising. For any comic, this is a normal thing. I need a lot of validation, and I need to shrug it off. I
Mhm.
need to get enough to go like, it doesn't mean anything. You needs to be so much validation that I can not take advantage of it, but dismiss it. There's a better
Okay.
word that
Um,
I'm missing.
wait, what do you want to say?
That like that I need to that I'm like bored by. You know, if you're like on vacation for
You
one
want to
day too
exhaust
long,
you want to exhaust whatever it
yeah,
is that
it
you
needs to be so much that I
exhausted.
can be over it. That I'm like, it's nothing.
Right.
And she's so supportive.
The only time I would say that a man would want to get married is if there's urgency.
Mm.
Either the girl's pregnant um, or the woman literally gives him an ultimatum. I gave my husband an ultimatum,
Yeah,
and he had to act or leave.
I
I don't know
do.
if she's going to do that to you, and if she's watching, I will say this:
Yeah,
the pressure does work.
yeah.
Is it always a good thing? No, but come on, shit or get off the pot.
No, I get you.
That's to me. I was looking to get married, so that's what I wanted.
I want kids for sure.
Okay.
Uh, This is as I've had this conversation like 3 times in the last week and a half. It's weird to be at the age I'm at with where I'm at in my career.
27.
29.
29, right?
I want kids,
Hmm.
and my parents had me when they were 30.
Hmm.
So
My youngest, I had her at 36. Yeah.
I'm not like, oh, I need to have it now,
Right.
but I want to have it soonish. It as in children.
Right, right, right.
They
She has a
I want to have
biological
kids.
clock too that has to.
Yes.
be addressed.
But we also,
People put that aside, and it's like, you can't really put that aside anymore after 30. You
um,
gotta start
I love
thinking.
to have them naturally. I would love to not use
Right,
some sort of
right.
thing.
And also, your chances of having a normal child after 35 is
But also, I don't have any money.
right,
I haven't even made I haven't made it far enough in comedy to where I'm making no money.
right,
I still have a job.
right.
Um,
Well, I think it's good to have a job when you're doing comedy. I think that no
yeah,
one should ever quit their day job or a night job in your case. Um,
that's a good point. Which
because
also makes it tough. I don't have a lot of time to do
I
both.
know, I know, I
Yeah,
know. That's the only downfall to what you're looking for. See, I always
yeah,
said if you're a comic, you should work in the comedy clubs,
yeah.
but I don't know if that works that way in Comedy Cellar.
There's only a few people who like know what this life is like. There's,
The managers,
yeah.
the
Well,
managers of
the other
comedy.
managers of the Comedy Cellar don't want to be performers.
Right.
So it's like me and then this guy Neil who
I
I'm
think Gina used to do stand up. I
really
never saw it, but yeah, I
uh
didn't know her back then.
the production manager of Union Hall like tours with his buddy. His name is Neil Ghosh. He's a fantastic comic. See him if you can. Um, runs a show with James Austin Johnson and Dave Ross. Um, and then there's this other comic, Annabeth. Oh my goodness, I'm dropping her name right now, but she's the manager of the Bell House.
Okay,
So
where's
like
that?
the Bell House is in Gowanus. It used to be owned by the people that owned Union Hall,
Oh, okay.
and then they sold it to
So
Live Nation.
you left Union Hall to go to the cellar because you live in the city. Is that the one main
I
purpose?
didn't even mean to get the job at the Cellar.
How did you get that job?
I
Walked in?
left to do more comedy and do like gig work.
Mm.
I was a videographer for Fordham, and then they did not tell me their budget. And I was like, "Oh, sick! We're gonna make all these videos," and I made a lot of videos. And they were like, "Oh, this is our budget for the year." They didn't
Oh,
tell me the budget, but
oh,
I ran through the budget in like June.
mm.
And I was like, "So that's the rest of the work from that for the year."
Okay, got it.
I got a job working as a theater tech at an opera, but
Wow. My
I
husband
had
loves the opera.
it was not an opera house in that there are shows. It's an opera place, as in there are recitals
Oh, I
and there
see.
are so it's not as fun.
I understand what you're saying.
Um, and I got a job there, but I had 4 shifts in 2 months, and I mean it pays decent, but not that decent.
Right.
So I went out to dinner with a buddy of mine who's a host at the Cellar. His name is Gray West, fantastic comic. Um,
Look him up.
look him up. He's the best. I had him on all my shows in DC. We both lived in DC together. That's
Oh,
how I knew him.
okay.
And we
We're talking
we're
about
just talking, having a quick dinner, having like a nice time. And he's like, "What are you doing now?" And I was
because
like,
they're adding a room at the cellar, so like they have to have
"Yeah."
like more management probably.
Well, he was. I was saying I have no. I fucked this stuff up with. I don't know if I can
Yeah.
curse. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you
That wasn't even necessary. That
it's
wasn't
like once in a while,
necessary.
it's okay.
At Fordham, I thought I had more of a job than I did, and then I got 4 shifts in 2 months from this opera house, and then my buddy was like, "Oh, they're hiring at the Cellar. Do you want to like apply?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." It was literally from a dinner.
That's great.
And it then a few weeks later, I'm managing at the Cellar.
Wow, that's incredible. I
Yeah,
tell you, like I said, it takes a special someone to manage, but it takes an even more special person to do something that hard. And I see the operation. It's very, very difficult. So I commend you for that.
thank you. It's a machine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, so where are you? We're going to wrap it up and
sure.
just tell me where you are at with your girlfriend right now. You're obviously just in limbo with the marriage thing. You just don't know. But whatever, it's your thing. It's
Yeah.
I'm not judging at all. I'm saying what was good for me might not be good for you. But tell people out there about relationship wise. So you're not like the serial kind of dater kind of guy. You like a one woman type of thing. And
The options look nice. I tried polyamory for a
really,
year. Yeah, I made it to one. I was one woman,
okay,
so I didn't really get there.
okay. Well, then
I was on
sounds
her
like it.
list. She wasn't on my list. She
I
was the only
see.
person.
All right.
Um, which was fine. I only wanted to see her like once a month. That was
Okay.
perfect for me at the time.
Right.
But
But what you have now is more substantial, and
yeah,
you'd rather cultivate that.
she's a great person, a great partner, very supportive. Um, a lot of fun. Understand, like I've never had someone who understands who I am, who isn't getting annoyed and is actually laughing at my stuff.
That's great.
I feel like I dated a lot of people who are like, this guy's super interesting and is going, I'm not going to be bored. But it's like in not being bored a lot, I'm going to be annoying. I'm going to
Right.
talk a lot and say dumb things, and
Right.
she finds the dumb things more fun.
That's all that matters.
Yeah. And so, hopefully, marriage, I've had a lot of, very few relationships in my family have worked.
It's an
So
important
that's,
decision that
yeah.
people they jump into very quickly. So it's good you're taking the time
Yeah.
and you're living together and you're going to get to know each other. But I have to say, people, don't work things out usually. I think the money will come when it comes to having kids and stuff like that.
It
They'll
seems to,
they'll bring your luck.
hope
They'll bring
so.
you luck, and I think they're blessings. So
I would
that's
love
my
kids.
take on it.
Yeah.
I think
Lucky that you have a boy and a girl too.
I have a boy and two girls.
Oh, two girls. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. You did say that. You had the
yeah, but
youngest.
my husband wasn't really, looking for marriage or kids at the time, and then when he had them, now he's happy because he's a young dad and he loves that he has three children. So,
That's so cool.
they're very rewarding and they're also a pain in the ass. But I'm just saying that you're never gonna have a love like you have for your child. So I think it's very important to make the right decision. Listen, the most vulnerable you'll ever be is when you're sleeping at night. So wouldn't you want that person sleeping next to you to be someone you trust?
For sure.
So that's why you have to really make a decision of who this next person is going to be in your life. And sounds like it's going to be this one.
I hope so. Things are good. Her family likes me. My family likes
It's
her.
so important. And, usually I'd say religion and politics, they all have to align. And if that doesn't matter to either of you, then you guys are even at a better place just for that.
Yeah, I think politically we're close enough.
Okay.
I care to watch it more than she does, but then I like watch politics and I'm like, oh, I'm done with this.
Right.
And then she's just like, hey, you know, just like you don't need to talk about it all the time.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
And
That's
that's
cool.
but we're
You
not
have
like,
other people that you can talk to about it
yeah,
anyway, so it doesn't matter. You don't like I always
she's just
say,
bored by it.
so this is what I say, I don't talk comedy with my husband. He doesn't care. He doesn't
Sure.
even like comedy clubs. Doesn't care.
My girlfriend doesn't like seeing shows.
Yeah, so my husband doesn't come
But
to any
see,
shows, and when he does, he micromanages, and I'm like, get out of here. You're not welcome.
I am like, I was like, you
I
could come to
used to
Union
care.
Hall shows all the time. There's
Yeah.
so many women where I could be
I know,
dating and I
I
could be
know,
like, come to
I
the
know.
show, and
They'll
they're like,
eat
oh,
it
who am
up
I
out of your
meeting?
hand.
She could not
My
care less.
husband doesn't care either.
It's
And
so
so I
funny.
have to find a comedy friend and I have to literally I go to the cellar alone.
Yeah,
Or sometimes I'll find a comedian friend that I could sit with so I could sit up front because I know they don't seat singles
yeah,
in the front.
no,
I know. And I'm such a comedy fan because I'm a comic
mm,
that I'm loving the sitting in the front thing. But
yes,
I'm like, call on me. I don't care. I'll banter with you.
sure, sure.
But I understand it as a business.
Yeah,
They're gonna put couples up front.
yeah, they want people to be
Certain comedy
comfortable.
clubs actually they charge you more money
Yes,
to sit in the front. I never
I
knew that.
think that's better. The
That's
the
yeah, it
the
makes it
cellar
sound
works
like
differently because not all the seats are equal.
right.
So they're just like, look, the tickets could not be more affordable for the greatest
Oh
comics in the
yeah.
city. It's
Yes.
unbelievable. And some
Yes.
people are like, "What?
100%.
It's $14 on a Monday?" I'm like, you would pay like there's so many
I know.
shit
I charged
shows. Sorry,
25.
there's so
No.
many bad shows
Yeah.
in Brooklyn
Yeah.
where you pay 20 or 25 bucks
Right.
for garbage, and
Right.
you can see some of the best comics at the cellar.
Oh, the best in the
But
world.
when I worked at the DC Improv, they started doing the VIP for the front row, and I think that works out
I do
better.
think that too. It
Um,
makes it sound more exclusive.
it's more exclusive. The venue makes more. The comedians make more,
Yeah.
and the people go into it knowing that they're going to be in the
Yeah,
front row.
I feel like people at the Matt Rife show want to be on so much that they'll
Yeah.
call things out from the audience now.
And if
People
that's
want,
your
yeah.
crowd, then you should get good at that. He does the crowd work,
Oh
and like
yeah.
Stavros does the crowd work. You don't want people who are,
Just comedians doing their own thing.
yeah, and also you don't
I
want,
like the diversity.
yeah.
Love it.
And if
I think
you're the
Matt
type of
Rife's great.
Well, if you're the type of person that does that, you
Yeah.
want those people in an area where they know they paid for it, and they also don't want to be like sometimes when you're in the darkness,
Yeah.
when you're in the back,
Right.
people yell out more because they feel like they're in the crowd. But
Right.
if you're in the front, you're not going to be so brazen.
Right.
So if the people kind of want to be
I
a
see
part of
what
the
you mean.
show,
Yeah.
they might answer some of the stuff in the
Right.
beginning, but then they
Right.
realize everyone sees them.
Right.
They're not in the
Oh yeah,
darkness.
yeah.
So
Especially if it's videoed.
yeah, yeah. So I think it's like a good. I think the reservation, but
I love the front row.
they don't do any
So I'm gonna have to
things like that at
rent
the
a
cellar.
comedian or rent a friend that will sit with
Friend
me.
to friend.
You could be my comedy date at the cellar.
Hell
How's
yeah.
that sound?
It's like
Huh?
a good
Anybody
time.
into it? Into it?
Yeah, you should go for it. Hit her up
Hit me up.
on the
Okay.
Instagrams.
Connor, it's
Yes.
been a joy to have
Yes.
you.
Thank you
I
for
am
having
look 'em
me.
up. Where could people find you?
I should get a better Instagram handle. My Instagram is SC Mittelstadt, which is just my name. It's very long. Mittelstadt.
Schwarzenegger was long, and everybody figured that out.
I don't think I got the same
You
gravitas.
never know.
Maybe that would be. I'm so much smaller than him. But physically,
Yeah.
and
So who isn't?
yeah.
And
So yeah, at SC Middlestat on Instagram. At the underscore better underscore business underscore bros for my sketch team.
I'll have to put that in the information.
Yeah, sure.
And yeah.
That's my stuff. That's all
Okay.
I got.
And you can see him at the cellar. What nights are you at the cellar?
Whenever they tell me,
Okay.
I get my
Oh,
schedule
you don't even know.
like Thursday
Oh,
for
wow.
the following week.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
Um, where you can see me is Victoria Makes You Laugh with a YOU. Um, wifesbitchpodcast.com, Wife's a Bitch Podcast on Instagram. And yeah, I don't have any upcoming shows right now, but I'm working on it.
nice.
And I'm looking to do certain different things right now. So maybe sketch would be one of them.
Sure, come
But
on in.
yeah, that's where I'm at right now. And we're going to wrap it up. Thanks for watching Wife's a Bitch Podcast. Take care, everyone.